Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about it being okay not to write. And maybe you need me to say that again. It's okay not to write. So I am just coming back now from taking a month off writing to do other things, and I want to talk about that kind of thing because I want to say to you that it is okay sometimes to not write. And when I say that, if you're anything like me, you might sit there and agree with me that it's okay not to write, but then this little voice in the back of your head will kind of whisper at you, but you should be writing if you have time. You should, because we have this notion that we should be writing all the time. You know, the funny thing I found about going full time as a writer is I actually find myself working all the time. I always find excuses to actually go to work. So if I am at my computer playing a game, like at the moment I really enjoy The Sims, I will turn that on and then my brain will go, oh, you need to go and check this thing, and I will go and check that thing, whatever it is, and then before I know it, my game's been paused an hour and I'm actually working. And it's that joke, isn't it, that I quit the 9 to 5 so I could work 24/7. But when you're working for yourself, it's so easy to work all the hours because 1, your income depends solely on yourself, and 2, there's always so much to do, and 3, usually working for yourself is actually a lot more fun than working for somebody else, or at least that's been my experience. And this leads, especially to me, to a really bad place where, and I talked about this in another video, where I will work all day, and if I get all my work done by 5 o'clock, great, and I'll come out of the office, go and have dinner, and then tell myself I can go and play a game, or I can read a book, or I can watch a movie. And this little voice in my head will say to me, well, you've got 3 hours before bed, you could be writing. And I will start to write. And this is a really good place to get yourself into burnout, which is what I actually managed to do. And you'd think I'd know the signs. I suffered my first burnout a few years ago when I was at uni. I was trying to do everything and it just wasn't working. And when I was at uni, I would just like work, study from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. I would find it was giving me headaches, it was making me tired, I was grumpy, I was irritable, and I wasn't what actually happens, we think that when we work all the hours we have, that it's going to produce more work. But what actually happens is the quality of our work goes down. And this is why I say it's okay not to write, because you need breaks. And when I was studying and pushing myself so hard, I found I was starting to feel numb and like a zombie to the world. And that's not a good place to be. That's a burnout place where you just don't want to do anything. And the thing is, working as a full-time writer, it's always been my dream. It's amazing to be a full-time writer, and it's what I do for a living, and I'm very lucky. But I can become obsessed with my writing and have to force myself to take days off. And what no one tells you when you think about becoming a full-time writer is that everything else you have to do, it isn't just writing the books. You have to market the books, you have to get the books edited, you have to do the formatting, you have to do the covers, you have to do your social media, you have to do your newsletter list. There is so much more that goes into being a writer than just writing the books. And so it can become that you feel like you have this never-ending to-do list that you have to get through, and so you can constantly be working. And this is one of my problems, and this kind of obsessive work can also come from kind of internalized voices we have from when we were younger. I know mine does a little bit. You know, I kind of like never felt I was good enough as a child, had a lot of things going on, and so I was always trying to achieve, to prove I was good enough. And so I do it now, even though I'm not proving myself to anyone but myself. It's that constant fear of not feeling good enough, which forces me to constantly work and push myself to places of burnout, and it's not good. But the thing is, when I try to stop myself from working or writing to give myself downtime, so this past July I took July off because I'd worked really hard on finishing Jigsaw Girl and I have loads of little things I need to do, so it was like, right, take July off, get myself, because I was feeling in the pit of burnout as well, get myself ready and then back to work August. But there's a guilt that comes with that, and I have to remind myself that guilt is actually just an emotion. Emotion comes in 3 types. They are motivational, adaptive, and social. But each emotion is there to kind of create an action within us. And guilt is no different from happiness or sadness or fear. It's there to get us to do something, to take action. But it can kind of be an emotion that comes along when it shouldn't need to. And I think for me especially, and maybe for others, that social media can also play a big part in this. There's all these wonderful, fantastic, informative writers groups that are actually amazing to be in, but they are also full of people who are achieving so much, and it can be so easy to compare ourselves to them. I know I do, and so that for me further makes the I'm not good enough feeling bigger, which kind of creates a bigger guilt, which kind of makes me work, if that makes sense. And it's having to step away from that and remember that their path is different to my path, and my life is different to their life, and my career is completely different to theirs, and they probably do take downtime, and they are just at different places. And it's just reminding myself that I'm not letting the guilt get hold of that and force me to work all the time, because like I said at the beginning, it is okay to take time off. So there are two types of time we have. There is free time and usable time, and it is understanding the difference within these two things that enables us to take time off. And I fail to stick to sometimes that just because I have 2 hours free in the evening does not mean that those 2 hours are usable time for my work. Sometimes they need to be free time so that I am filling the creative well on myself. So I like to think of time like money. That's how it works in my brain for me. So there are 168 hours in any given week, and if you work a full-time job, you can be working anything from 40-70 hours a week. That takes a big chunk of your week away. If you sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, that takes another huge chunk away. For example, working a 70-hour job and sleeping 8 hours a night instantly takes 126 hours from your 168 hours a week away. It would be crazy to tell yourself that you can work at the remaining 42 hours constantly on your writing. That is how burnout happens. And I like what Becca Syme talks about having energy pennies, that we only have so many in the day, and they don't necessarily equate to the amount of hours left in the day. So say you have 100 energy pennies or pennies through the day, and you work 8 hours at work, so you spend 70 of those through your day, and you come home, you do the housework or you do whatever, and you get very low on your pennies. Just because there are hours left in the day doesn't mean you have energy pennies left. You might have spent them all on everything you've done. So if you try and go into this kind of overdraft area, you're going to just burn yourself out. And it's like if you had a wallet full of pennies, if you go out and buy 10 things and everything costs 10 pennies, after 10 purchases you're done, and it doesn't matter if you wanted another 2 purchases, you've spent up. So if you go and then buy another 2 things that are 10 pennies each, you go into an overdraft. And if you did that every single day, this overdraft is going to build up, and the same happens with your energy. And eventually you're going to be in debt, and eventually you would reach a point where you have to stop and you have to pay it all back. And the same with your energy, you're going to reach a point where you have to stop, and this is called burnout, where you have to put all that energy back and build it back up again and kind of repair yourself. So I'm going to say again, it's okay not to write. Take your free time if you have some free time. I know it's very hard. I know the guilt gets at us. It can make you feel ashamed, make you feel like a failure, make you feel like you're not working hard enough. And for me, the whisperings of my mind will start that I should be writing. And unfortunately, the only way to fight this is to allow it to be there. When you have free time, do the free time activities. Let the shame come, let the guilt come. It can only reach a certain level. Nothing bad's going to happen. And if you just fight against it day after day, it will eventually shut up. The advantage you get from doing this is that you're going to fill your creative well, so that when you do sit down to be creative, everything just flows so much better. Your writing will flow so much better. Everything just feels so much better. Trying to work in burnout is like trying to work sick. It just doesn't work. Taking your free time, refilling that well, makes you get in that creative flow where the creativity just feels fantastic. So when you've got to fight that guilt, that's what you have to remind yourself, that you're doing it to get to that joy point of your writing. And you could actually schedule your free time. So this is something I actually have to do, and it's what I learned from doing Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. She talks about doing an artist date, and it's a couple of hours a week and dating your inner artist. And it could be going to a museum, going to a coffee shop by yourself, watching your your favourite old movie alone. It basically is just spending some time with yourself, doing a free time activity and not thinking about work, not sharing it with anybody else, and just allowing that to fill you back up. I actually schedule my reading time every day, and I know that could sound a little bit controlled, but if I don't, I would end up even working in bed, and that's not good. So I schedule that I'm going to read for at least an hour a day, because reading is how I fill my creative well. So I have to make sure I get that in. Another thing I'll say about taking time off is just do a check-in with your own expectations of yourself. It's not lazy to take time off. If you need a break, there is nothing wrong with that. We have breaks from everything in life, and sometimes we can just expect too much from ourselves. I know I do. I can easily expect myself to work 18-hour days, and that's realistic to try and do that 7 days a week. So think about what you're asking yourself to do. Is it actually achievable? Is it something that you would ask somebody else to do? So I got into the habit of working from when I got up at 5 in the morning to when I went to bed about 9-10 o'clock at night. Now I can tell you, if one of my children had an outside job that demanded they do that 7 days a week, I would be talking to them about maybe they need another job. So why do I have that expectation of myself? And that's what I'm asking you to do when you check out the expectations of yourself. Are you expecting too much of yourself with your writing, with your work? Are you trying to write a book a month because other people do? Are you trying to write a book a month and expect yourself to be able to write a book a month, but maybe that's just not how you work? Sure, other people can do it, but maybe you're a book every 2 months or every 3 months. Maybe you write a book a year. That's totally fine. It's just how you work. So check in with your expectations of yourself and see if you are just asking too much of yourself. So I'm going to head off now, and I hope that video wasn't too rambly. They always feel so rambly, but I just wanted to talk about it being okay to take time off, to not to write, to have free time, to do other free time activities, and to look after yourself, so that when you are sitting down in front of the page, you are able to show up so much better. Anyway, until next time, look after yourself. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and give that notification bell a good old smash so you're notified every time I post a new video. And I will see you later.